on this question of pensions and governance in Uganda, I have to admit that one person called Mugisha approached me. I actually thought that liberalization was a thing of the 1990s, because that's when we started hearing that government is inefficient, that all government assets should be given to companies because companies are capable, that they know how to run business. And therefore government has no business doing business. The government should get out of business in order to solve government inefficiency. The government should specialize in those areas where it does best. That was in the 90s, if you all remember. But then when Wilson wrote his paper, I realized that maybe we are dealing with some of the last aspects of liberalization. In other words, the pension sector is one of the remaining public things that have not been sold off, if I use the simple basic language. The rest, as you know, the railway, the coffee, cooperative movement, all sorts of assets, including Uganda Commercial Bank, had been sold off, and what remains now is the pension sector. I don't know after pension what will be remaining as a public asset. So I thought very hard, and he approached me, I think, in May, and I've been thinking about it until now. What is it that we need to do about liberalization and pension and governance in Uganda? So when we reflected within open society, we realized that maybe information is one of those areas that we can address. That is, if we have to support a debate, a public debate on pension, we need to question, we need to raise the issue of whether there is information or there's going to be information or not, how much of it, what will be the quality of information. And I'm one of the depositors. I'm not even an expert in these pension issues, but I contribute to the NSSF. So I personally don't know a lot. And if I'm here and I don't know a lot, what about many, many, many other contributors? How much do they know about NSSF and how it works? How much are they going to know about the process of liberalization? And how much are they going to know after the process of liberalization? So we thought that information was going to be the most important thing. And so we requested Dan, who teaches at Makerere and who is a specialist in access to information issues, to be the person to lead the discussion. On the other hand, Rakakamba and other people had to be given an opportunity to raise their own issues. And I guess there are valid issues as well, because is it just a question of the law that privatization has taken the turn it has taken? Maybe there are other political issues that need to be discussed. So then we give this opportunity to other people who are not experts in access to information, but who have ideas of the politics of investment and disinvestment or whatever it is. So before I leave this floor, I want to raise a number of questions. If in the 90s, if we were arguing that the state has no capacity to run business, do we still believe that the private sector is the answer? Are we still convinced that if government runs business badly, the private sector runs business properly? Is that the conviction? We have benefit of about 20 years experience. So what do you think? Now, once I have given my money to a private company, who do I relate to? Who do I ask? At the moment, the assumption is government is accountable to me. So, once government has handed over my money, who am I going to be asking? Do I run to the private company? Do I have a compact? Is there a relationship between the employee and the private company that is taking my money? And again, the question becomes, what is the experience of privatization in Uganda? Are we going to continue arguing that because government is incapable, therefore the private sector is the solution? Has the private sector performed? Is there any report, by the way, on privatization and liberalization, on the success and failure? What is the report again, this 20 years experience that we've had? Now, the other thing is, we all know, and we were told that it wasn't true at some stage, that the whole world is in economic crisis. It started around 2007-8 there. And the big companies were falling apart in the US and in Europe. And we were being told that this won't happen in Uganda because Africa, after all, is a bit outside the financial sector. But some people said, but if the crisis comes here, our own peasants are going to make money because they're going to sell their food, because the prices of food are going to go up. Now, in a way, this crisis has come to us. I doubt if anyone still believes that we have not been affected by the crisis in the US and in Europe. This crisis is here. And one way that you can know that the crisis is here is the minerals, the rush for the minerals and the rush for land in Africa. And the guy who wanted the I think was the forerunner, when he said, give me free land, because if I buy, I will not make profit. So you degazette your forest, give it to someone free of charge, so that he can make sugarcane. The expected benefit was employment. Okay, but now, since then, we've seen the rampage in the land sector, whether in the urban centers or in the rural centers. In the rural areas. And then the rush for minerals, to the extent that the president has made a comment that if there are minerals under your bed, we just lift you and your bed, and we get the minerals. There's no compensation. We are going to have a constitutional amendment, and that's it. You only need to look at the map, the mineral map of Uganda, and you understand why the president thinks like that. Because all of a sudden it has been discovered that Uganda has a lot of minerals. So you can't compensate everyone. You only have to kick them out. So that, in my opinion, is a response to the crisis that happened in America, that is still happening actually, in America and Europe. So one of the investors, big investors, said, go to Africa. When the banks were falling apart in Europe, he said, go to Africa. Then we got information in the media that institutions like Harvard University, I'm very sorry, Dan, Gabriel, you went to Harvard. Harvard University was one of those land grabbers in West Africa, and other institutions like that. And people who take measurements, they tell us that companies have territory in Africa which is as big as the countries. And that West African land grab, they told us Netherlands, the size of Netherlands. There's another land grab in South Sudan, they said the size of Rwanda. Some companies, some countries have land the size of Rwanda. But in the pension sector, that means the companies that are not making profit in the world are looking for finance to run their businesses. So our pension is just a candidate for companies that are not making profit in the first place. It seems, that's the point I'm trying to make. And how do we address that kind of question? That we have a lot of money lying here, and there are many traders in the world who don't have money and they want it. They so use the habit because they are too big. Government has to bail them out. You saw the companies in America when they were falling apart. Government gave them a lot of money, but the guys who lost mortgages, they went homeless. Okay? So, for me, really, we need to look at things from the global context as well. Maybe the people who are pressurizing for privatization of the pension sector are not necessarily ordinary Ugandans. And maybe we don't have so much control over them once they've got our money. Now, that's where I really want to stop. But then I want to say that maybe we're asking wrong questions. I mean, how does, for instance, should we be talking about the dilemma of the state in the era of global crisis? On one hand, the state is supposed to be our protector. But on the other hand, the state is a client of the global forces up there and out there. Okay? So what does the state do in such a situation? Does the state sell us, or the state protects us? But can the state protect us anyway? So what kind of state do we need in order for us as pension people to remain protected? I guess this is what we should do. That's what I'm suggesting, that maybe we should not be talking about the law, the articles, and so on, but actually the actual challenge of running a state at a time when the whole global economic system is in crisis. I don't know. And as I say, I'm not an expert in any of these issues, but I leave it to the experts. Thank you very much.